NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Building a career is possible at Progressive Insurance, now offering virtual and hybrid employment opportunities with pathways for advancement. Learn more at careers.progressive.com.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners. And Tennessee State Parks, offering visitors a chance to take a breath of fresh air. From overlooks and waterfalls to lake shores, adventure and reflection are waiting close to home. Information on planning your next hike, paddle, or weekend getaway at tnstateparks.com.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. Today is a show all about the patriotic music that comes from Middle Tennessee, but you're not going to hear the tender words of God Bless the U.S.A. by Lee Greenwood or the Call to War anthem by the late Toby Keith, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. In Nashville, we're seeing musicians and songwriters respond to the celebration of 250 years as a country with something quite different. Unfiltered reflections on what it means to exist in America as Black, brown, and queer people living in the South. Through their music, fashion, and performance, they're kind of reclaiming iconography and symbols long dominated by mainstream music, culture, and defining or maybe even rejecting American patriotism, but on their terms. So we're going to start, of course, with our national anthem, sung by our first guests, the Cowgays, at a Preds game earlier this season.
O'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Not bad. Not bad. And
God bless America.
A rousing rendition by Chris Housman, Brooke Eden, and Adam Mack of the Cowgays, who are here with us in studio. Hello, Cowgays.
Hi.
And if you have been looking for a reason to watch this show instead of just listen on our YouTube stream, today might be a good day, and you tune in and you'll see why. But you can watch at youtube.com/@WPLN. And you listen, you want to shout out the Cowgays, just blow up that live chat there. All right, so, you all got a lot of love for your three-part harmony, but I sense that you also had some haters. What were they griping about, Brooke?
Being gay. What they're always griping about.
So, like, really, what was some of the negative response? It's not like you all changed the words to the national anthem or something.
Right.
No, definitely not.
You didn't even get all that creative with it, just sort of tight three-part harmony.
Yeah. I think hockey fans are, some can be, hockey fans, just like super aggressive and masculine, which is fine as long as they're not toxic. But they were not so happy that that hockey had some
a band called the Cowgays.
Yes,
singing the national anthem.
Yes,
it was Pride Night though.
It was Pride Night.
They don't like that either, though.
No, they don't
like that the Preds have a Pride Night.
And that's where it started, really. They were mad that they had Pride Night to begin with. And then they like to be like, oh, how fitting, the Predators.
Right.
Like, what?
Oh, I see.
They've been called that.
They've been called that.
Adam, what does it say that this was like your first official public performance as the Cowgays? Just so for listeners, you didn't miss something. The Cowgays, relatively new group, started writing songs together last year. But yeah, for your first public performance to be singing the national anthem.
Well, it kind of felt like the perfect debut for us. I mean, we had just dropped our song "Wish I Wasn't Gay," which we stood in front of a giant American flag and kind of like reclaimed that patriotism. So in a way, it was the perfect first performance for us to show up at a pride night and sing the national anthem as three proud, bold queer people in country music. It was kind of the ultimate, like, stick it to them, you know?
Well, let's listen to a little bit of that song, Wish I Wasn't Gay, right now.
Wish I wasn't gay. Wish I wasn't gay. I don't wish I wasn't gay no more. Clap your hands for Jesus. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. I don't wish I wasn't gay no more. Used to lay in bed at night and cry myself to sleep, tossing and a turning, wondering why. Thought that damned old devil had a hold on me, till the day I finally saw the light. Wish I wasn't gay.
Yeah, so Chris Housman, like Adam said, you all are standing in front of a wall-sized American flag for this video, which obviously was a very conscious choice. Like, what were you trying to say about this, like, affirming message in America?
Yeah, I mean, really, especially that being our first, because we use that as even just, we are a band announcement. So we wanted something, you know, that is going to catch people's eye and be bold, but also just be proud. And I think proud in there's like multiple layers of pride in that. Yeah. We're being, you know, proud of ourselves as queer people, but even though we're not standing in front of a rainbow flag in that situation, we are queer people and proud of that. We're also standing in front of an American flag and proud of that. I think for me personally, I've had a lot of personal reclaiming of that from going to like some No Kings protests and stuff in the last couple of years. And I loved seeing people carrying American flags around there. And
That's interesting. It's like you could have had a rainbow flag, which I'm sure, you know, is part of, you know, your life. But there's something about having the American flag. Saying, oh, this is our flag.
Yeah,
also.
This is ours too.
Exactly.
And we love this country too. It's ours too. And really, like, when you love something, you want it to be the best that it can be. So honestly, we love America maybe even a little more than
because we see what it could be, and we see the future that America could have.
Brooke, can you sort of talk about that, like the reclaiming that's going on and how conscious it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing about America is it was supposed to be a melting pot, you know, like America is America because people came here from everywhere else in the world looking for a better life and looking for, you know, a new future and the you know, the possibility of the American dream. And I think that is the weavings of America, is that everyone comes from everywhere and becomes one culture and one people. And right now we're seeing such an exclusion of so many parts of America. And that's just not the way that it's supposed to be. And so, you know, as the Cowgays, we want people to know that they're welcome in country music. Brown people, queer people, black people, people from, you know, different cultures and different countries know that they belong in country music, and we're kind of the poster children for that.
Who do you have in your mind that you're making music for?
For everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really making music for everybody, but I think that we're also telling stories in country music and through country music themes that haven't been told before.
I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville. We're joined by the Cowgays, Brooke Eden, Chris Housman, Adam Mack to talk about playing with all-American country symbols as the country marks 250 years as a nation. So even country songs that aren't directly patriotic often kind of glorify images associated with American life, and you all do a bit of that, even as you slip in a more surprising message. Here's your new song, Kids Like Us.
Kids like us, we all grew up with God coming out of the speakers, climbing up trees, skinning our knees, running through the neighborhood sprinklers.
But when everybody else started falling in love, I started feeling left out. Worried my world would fall apart if anybody ever found out. Till I found out, kids like us, no
I mean, come on. That's a country song.
That's what I'm saying. That's about as country as a country song gets. The lyrics even include white picket fence in there. I was just waiting for it. So, like, Adam, are you trying to, like, widen what the American dream that country music often talks about could look like?
Exactly. Yeah, I think when we started this band and started writing songs for this project, we wanted to rewrite the stories that we grew up on, but filtered through our experience. You know what I mean? We wanted to write songs for kids like us. That's how this song became what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the magic of the Cowgays is kind of reframing what it can look like to grow up queer in the South specifically.
Was that your story in Russellville, Kentucky growing up? That like you're thinking this is not, I don't know, I'm not fitting in somehow here.
100%. Yeah, it was constantly hiding. It was constantly masquerading as all the other boys that I grew up with and was friends with. I would just try to emulate what they did, but it just wasn't.
And Chris, you're from a town. I think you said what? That you're from a town. You're from outside of a town of 200. Like what were you feeling there? Isolated, I would think.
Yeah, feeling a lot of nothing out there. Very isolated. I mean, it's about as rural and white and Christian and country
in Kansas,
in Kansas as you can get. I mean, the town that was 5 miles away had, we didn't have a stoplight, we didn't have a grocery store, we didn't have a gas station, we had a bar, and I think 12 churches and a post office and a bank. And
about the right numbers there.
Yeah.
Brooke, would you consider this a protest song or like your all's music? Do you think of it as kind of protest music?
I mean, there's protest in it for sure. I think that with pride always comes protest. But I think that for us, it's literally just telling a story that like we were told would never be able to be. You know, I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a mom and thinking I would never be able to do that because I don't want a husband. You know what I mean? Like marrying a man would be the most obscene thing for me ever. And most importantly, probably for him, it would just be bad for both of us. But, growing up and meeting the love of my life and being married to my wife and we have a baby. And, this month I've been saying Happy Pride Month from my nuclear family. It's just been such, there's this lie growing up that you couldn't have a family if you were queer, and I'm living the truth of that, which is that's a lie.
Adam, what kind of support have y'all gotten from the sort of Nashville music machine?
Well, I think this past week on Friday we did a GLAAD event at the Soho House, and we got one of our biggest stamps of approval from one of our biggest icons in the industry, who is Shane McAnally.
Oh, really? Songwriter.
Yes, songwriter, producer, comedian, all the things. But
I saw he was doing a comedy show. Okay,
he can do it all.
Funny.
But to have him see us and recognize us and validate us was such a full circle moment for queer people who the three of us moved to town 12 plus years ago for all of us. And there was no queer representation in country music, but what we all did see was Shane McAnally writing hit after hit after hit. So that for me was something that I held on to as like a beacon, as a light that I could follow, a path that I could follow. And to hear him say that the Cowgays are blazing the trail for future generations to know that they belong in country music was like, too much.
Well, plenty of country artists have kind of just kept quiet about their queerness. Like Christopher, why'd you decide to make it the center of what you do?
I mean, honestly, it took me a long time to get there. And then I think I decided to do that because that was the only way that I saw myself moving forward, like being myself. I grew up doing country music, came out when I was 18 and moved to Nashville, and I spent about 10 years in Nashville kind of doing music or kind of working in the industry, but not really being out about it, or just not thinking that I could do country and be out at the same time. Because why would I? We had never seen that before.
You're also such a good songwriter. And if you're writing your life, you know, as an artist and singing about your life, how are you supposed to really tell your truth if you're telling a lie?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and really it was like 2020 that I think provided a big opportunity for a lot of us to kind of zoom out and check in on what really matters and what doesn't. And that's really when I started writing my stories and my truths in my songs. And then I met these two after, shortly after.
It's lovely to listen to. Brooke, is the 4th of July special to you guys?
I mean, the 4th of July is, you know, it's all about independence. And I think that, you know, freedom is all that we're ever looking for, you know, freedom to be ourselves, freedom to tell our truth, freedom to live our lives as who we are. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it has so much symbolism in it as a country and as, you know, people living in that country and just wanting the same rights as everybody else.
Interesting that, the word freedom is probably most associated with 4th of July, and freedom and pride certainly seem to go hand in hand. All right, well, if you want to catch the Cowgays in person, and you probably do, June 27th, Pride celebration at Brooklyn Bowl, they're on the docket, and they're going to be good. And will they be glammed up? Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes,
it's going to be a hoedown.
We don't show up if we don't show out.
Yes.
Well, speaking of hoedown, we'll listen to that on our way out. Well, thank you to Chris Housman, Brooke Eden, and Adam Mack of the Cowgays. Hope you come back.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right, we'll head into break over a good hoedown, which is the name of this song, which needs no explanation. Hard to call the song patriotic, but it's such classic country wordplay with a Cowgay twist. When we come back, we're going to listen through the forthcoming Outlaws Almanac compilation album and ask what kind of patriotism and protests lie within the musicians who made it. An alternative soundtrack for America at 250. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
I want to step in my troubles away. 3 drinks sitting in a purple haze.
I'm on a hell of a roll. There ain't no stopping me now. Can't keep a good hold down at a good hold down.
Might be drowning in debt, but I'm swimming in beer. You can call me white trash, but I'm a queen around here.
Now that I'm single, I can kiss who I please. Take a ride on my tractor if you know what I mean. There ain't no telling what I'm gonna do. The good thing about rock bottoms, there ain't nothing left to lose.
So I call my rowdy friends, tell them meet me in the stands.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners. And Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, serving the young and young at heart right here in Tennessee for more than 80 years. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. Learn more at bcbst.com. And Press Forward at the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee with a short survey asking residents how they receive local information, from school updates to severe weather alerts. Details at pressforwardmidtn.news. And Wildwood Resort, an all-inclusive destination for executive retreats and team gatherings near Nashville on Cordell Hall Lake, with meeting spaces, waterfront lodging, and modern amenities. More at visitwildwood.com.
Nashville Public Radio members stepped up with their donations to keep us whole when federal funding ended last year. Help us write the next chapter by continuing your giving. Year 2 starts with you. Give at WPLN.org.
I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville. The release of Outlaws Almanac, a compilation album, was very intentionally timed to coincide with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It responds to the occasion by being rooted in slave rebellion, protest songs, and traditional tunes. Producer Lizzie No says it's a call to be ordinarily and extraordinarily courageous and to envision something beyond the intoxicant that is proximity to whiteness and wealth. A quote from Lizzie No, who joins us now. Welcome to This is Nashville.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the line. So, who are the outlaws you're referring to in the title of this project?
Outlaws are the working class people doing everything we can to survive the American empire. And that goes from people all over this country and in the US's territories and contemporary colonies like Puerto Rico. It goes for folks that are working to help people get abortions in the South. It goes for people that are fighting against the prison industrial complex. We live in a country where the laws are largely hostile to our existence, especially as people of color and queer people. So outlaws are anyone who are focused more on human survival than honoring an outdated flag.
Yeah, I wonder what the term outlaws, though, conjures up in most, let's say, kind of music fans' minds.
The word outlaw, it comes from, cowboy and Wild West history. Nowadays, it usually is just code for a white man behaving in an immature fashion, drinking too much, being antisocial. I believe that an outlaw is someone who lives outside the law, right? The law doesn't protect you, so the law can't define you. And that's true for so many people in the US, whether we be trans, whether we be people of color, whether we exist in family structures that aren't recognized by the state. There are so many ways to be an outlaw in this country. And you don't always get to choose whether you're going to be an outlaw or not, but I think you might as well embrace it.
Well, let's listen to a single from this compilation album of yours, The One I Love and the Freedom Road.
I like it when her hair falls in my face. I like the way her collarbones taste. She could knock you over with her hands behind her back. Yeah, the one I love and the freedom road are black. You can forgive them all.
At the risk of having a songwriter explain the meaning of a song, can you walk us through some of the imagery on this one, please?
Every verse of this song is a scene of rebellion, whether intentional or not. I think as Black women, we learn early on that our existence in itself is a threat to the structures that this society, this American society, is trying to uphold. Our independence, our strength, our networks of matriarchy, all of the ways in which Black women tend to connect and innovate end up threatening the empire. And we can be scared by that, or we can be empowered by that.
This project was backed by a nonprofit called Rural Progress. I wonder what kind of progress you hope to inspire in rural America specifically.
I think that there has been a bizarre attempt by the right wing to define rural as for whites only. And this album is our attempt to remind folks that rural people come from all different colors, religions, backgrounds. Rural doesn't just mean white and conservative. I'm legally not allowed to talk about the nonprofit Rural Progress, but we're hoping to expand this message that you can be of the land and connected to the land without subscribing to a right-wing Trumpy system of belief.
Well, I wonder what you might say to people who think that now, this sort of 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence is kind of this time to find things to praise about America and not critique.
To me, that speaks to a deep cultural insecurity that a lot of us are indoctrinated with in America. As a feminist, I believe that I don't need to center men to believe in love, connection, and family. And in the same way, I don't need to revere the United States of America as a nation state or as an institution in order to be proud of my heritage, loyal to my neighbors, and optimistic about the future. I think, if anything, the message of this album is you don't have to salute the flag to be a citizen of the world, to be belonging to your community, to be a good neighbor.
Well, how'd you decide who to have on the Outlaws Almanac?
The good news is I've been working in folk music for the past 10 years, both as an artist and as a host of the Basic Folk podcast on the Bluegrass Situation. So all I do all day is listen for what's new and what's radical in folk music. So there were a ton of friends that I knew had to be on it, and then new friends that I reached out to because I love what they had to say. So someone like Kimaya Diggs is someone I've worked with and toured with for years. A friend like Nick Shoulders was a new friend who I knew just had to be on this album because of what he's doing in the radical left folk scene.
Yeah. Well, we also have a few more of those outlaws in the studio with us. I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville producer Lizzie No, spearheaded the new Outlaws Almanac, which releases June 19th in time for the 250th anniversary of America's founding. So let's bring some of these guests in because they're staring at me anyway, nodding along, Lizzie, as you speak.
Oh, great.
Kapali Long is an indigenous native Hawaiian Americana Country Blues artist and songwriter, major contributor to the album. Welcome to This Is Nashville.
Hey, aloha. Nice to be here.
Aloha. I think that's a first for This Is Nashville for me anyway. Trey Wellington's a banjo pro in folk, bluegrass, jazz, and contemporary roots music, also on the Almanac. Welcome.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No alohas?
Aloha.
Kapali, let's maybe jump into a song. I've never seen the word Medicaid in music, so it caught my eye since I've been a healthcare reporter over my years. But you've got a vigil for Medicaid. Let's listen to a bit.
You wanna act like you are one of us, but you sit in a jet and we ride the bus. Red lines and lies are all you're worth. You took away health care from those who need a work, but you think that you're different.
So can you tell us about playing on the National Mall in D.C. and being inspired to write this?
It was I got to give a big mahalo to Lizzie again, for throwing my name out there and my artistry and what I stand for, and them accepting me to be a part of such an event. My grandma fought cancer for 5 years, so that was something that really meant a lot to me. And, I grind my teeth at night. I got some anxiety, so, man, I wouldn't have the teeth I have today if it wasn't for that Medicaid in my years in California.
Yeah.
And it meant the world, just coming from 4,000 miles away, and to be able to, speak for my grandma who wasn't there anymore, and write, and to be asked that. I wrote the song overnight before and finished it as we were finishing the drive up.
You're saying you actually performed that song on the National Mall?
Yes, I did. When we got asked to perform at the official vigil of Medicaid, I said, shoot, that's the song name, and then it's
the event was called Vigil.
I think it was the official vigil of Medicaid, something, and it was right in front. And I remember they sent us the location, and we went driving around, and I'm like, shoot, where's the mall? Because being from Hawaii, I was like, dang. And then I looked over, and I was like, dang, they should have just told us to park right in front. Stage was right there. We pulled up, and then the weather was wild. I think just being indigenous and understanding that everything is alive. I feel like the ground, the soil was not happy that day, and the weather was wild, just with all the pain of the people, I think.
Wow, that's a beautiful thought. What is Medicaid, this program that pays for health care for folks with low incomes, disabled people? What does that symbolize to you in American life?
That's a part of the American dream. That's a part of the flag, I think, to be able to know that you're either born in or a part of or adopted into a country, that wants to take people. You kind of hope that they're going to take care of the people if you take them,
Yeah. Trey Wellington, you picked a song to record for the album called Take This Hammer. It's this public domain song. Let's listen to a bit of it before we talk.
Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Tell him I'm gone, Lord, Lord, tell him I'm gone. If they ask.
Yeah, so Trey, why did this old protest song connect with you?
Yeah, I think when we're looking at the history of folk music and kind of what it has to do with the ideas of protest and different things throughout history, I think folk music was the one of the first original ways that we were able to protest against things that we disagreed with in the country. And I think, I was talking to somebody about, what the meaning of home is. And, so much, it's like I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in Ashe County, North Carolina, in a very rural community. And for me, it's like, what made that place home was the people there. And when we look at, all the injustices going on in the country, you can still look at the people around you and be like, this is home. And so for me, it's like when you look at a song like Take This Hammer, this is a protest song about people working on a chain gang and not being able to be home with the people. And so it's one of the original protest songs because I think, it speaks to people not being able to be in their version of home, with the people they love, and that's what the whole song's about. And so I think that really connected with me because when I look at, a country where right now I don't agree with a lot of things going on in the country, that like home is like really the home, like the main base of how you can keep your spirits up and how you can ultimately fight back and rebel against the things that you don't like around the country.
Yeah. Well, to those who are watching on YouTube, the video stream, youtube.com/@WPLN, feel free to chime in the chat and, let us know what songs, kind of express how you feel about America, and we'll try to work those in on the air. I'm curious, Trey, do you typically use your music to make a statement or kind of comment on public life like this?
Yeah, definitely. So I had an album come out in 2022 that was called Black Banjo. And the whole idea of that entire album was that, as Black people, I think so often within the confines of America, we're, looked at to be a certain way, like we're looked at to be like, oh, you have to talk a certain type of way, or you have to act a certain type of way, or you have to play a certain type of music or play certain type of instruments. And my whole idea with that album was basically to make a statement of, no, I'm like an individual Black person. I have my own experience. I have my own life experience, and I don't want anybody to tell me kind of how to live that experience and how to be. And so for me, it was like very much a purposeful, like, oh, I'm trying to speak out and make my own experience heard and make it clear to other people, and that album specifically was meant for, everybody to hear, like, oh, no matter where you come from, you should be able to, do whatever kind of music you want to do, or, wear whatever you want to wear, and, like, be whoever you want to be in life, because I think that's one of the things that makes people so beautiful, is the individuality.
Well, Lizzie No, as the creative force behind this Outlaws Almanac project, like, do you find that you're needing to almost push these collaborators and artists to, really offer some critique and protest to kind of fit what you're trying to accomplish?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I chose a cohort of artists who defiantly have something to say, whether they consider themselves activists or, makers of protest music or not. And I think each artist would give you a different response if you were to ask if they think they make protest music. Existing authentically, being politically aware, being literate, having empathy, having compassion for your neighbors. These are revolutionary ideas in America because we are conditioned to be individualistic and to submit to this dominant whitewashed narrative. So just by choosing a group of artists who are outspoken, diverse, largely artists of color, I just knew that what they had to say was going to be the right thing.
Yeah.
And the way the album came together was just by my asking every artist, is there a song that you've written or that's important to your community that tells the story of your people in this country? And each response was so completely different that it made this incredible compilation.
Well, we're going to dig into it just a bit more when we come back, but we need to take a break. Back with the Outlaws, we'll call them, and we'll also bring in Julie Hight to help us kind of put this alternative soundtrack of America at 250 in context. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners. And Amazon, proud sponsor of WPLN's daily show, This Is Nashville, engaging our differences so we can discover our unity. More on Amazon's community work at aboutamazon.com. And Curry Ingram Academy, now accepting applications for Camp Beach Creek at Curry Ingram and Brentwood. From robotics to water slides, designed to be a well-rounded summer of fun. More at curryingram.org/camp.
And Vanderbilt Health, with specialists in everyday injuries like broken arms all the way to genomics and heart transplants. Vanderbilt Health, solving the most complex problems, prepares them to solve any problem. More at whyvanderbilthealth.com.
I'm Scott Tong. An investigation by the Associated Press and KFF Health News finds immigration facilities are not providing adequate medical care. Detainees are not getting necessary medications on time, infections and cancers are not being treated, and there's inadequate prenatal care. Medical neglect at ICE facilities, next time Here and Now.
This afternoon at 1 on 90.3 WPLN News.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. The modern soundtrack to Independence Day has roots in this region. If you've never heard Lee Greenwood perform God Bless America at an event, then I don't know, maybe you haven't been to enough political functions in Tennessee, but our region is also responsible for an alternative soundtrack to this 250th anniversary. One album being released in time for the 250th is The Outlaws' Almanac, and we'll listen to one more track called Bear Creek.
And how long will I love my enemies? Until I'm right back where I started, crying I can't breathe. But now my heart is following the drum, beating louder, braver than anything I have ever done. All I wanted was an anthem, somewhere to be from.
That's producer Lizzie No. I just wanted an anthem and somewhere to be from. Forgive me for asking you again to expand on that perfectly poignant line, but what does it mean to you?
Oh man, this one goes really deep for me. It started as a question of, do I belong in folk music? I think that Black artists remain extremely marginalized in folk, Americana, and country, to the point where our presence itself feels like a threat to the normal order of things. And as an artist, you don't want to wonder if the music that comes out of you is ever going to find an audience, or are there people who don't see me as belonging to this culture? And it was a really early song. I wrote this like when I was just starting out as a songwriter. I must have been 21.
Wow.
And I was asking myself, am I going to make a go of this? Am I going to put myself out there as a folk artist in a scene that thinks a Black woman playing the harp as a folk musician is kind of a joke?
Mm. Yes, that's you strumming a harp there
Yes.
as the accompaniment. Let's bring in one more voice to join the Outlaws here. Julie Hight is senior music writer at WPLN and the cool corner of the building here at Nashville Public Radio, WNXP. Welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
Well, and a lot of this show is kind of from your own observations as sort of a music, not sort of, as a music critic. How are you seeing the 250th anniversary resonate around the Nashville music industry?
You know, I've got to give credit to Lizzie No and the Outlaws Almanac Project for motivating me to think about this and really give it attention in the first place. Because it was when, at the beginning of this year when Lizzie was telling me about the vision for this project, then I thought, oh, this is such an exciting vision. All the voices and all the different stories that they're telling. And I think it was a gift to me to be able to spend time with it and listen to it, enter into it, and to find that it's the kind of work that gives you reason to lean in and listen more closely and to experience all these different layers, And that kind of sent me on a quest to pay attention to and appreciate and take in the multiple layers that a lot of different artists are working with, because it's the actual lyrics, but it's also subtext and references and all the stylistic threads and traditions they're pulling together, every sonic decision that they're making and their own stories, lived experiences, identities that they're bringing to it, and even the packaging, the presentation, the visuals, and everything around it. It's turned into a really, really rich and rewarding journey for me. And I'm just glad that I'm getting to do work, writing different pieces, audio pieces you can read online that allow others to experience that as well, and to really to see what these artists are doing. And I mean, the work that they're doing is expanding our understanding of what American identity contains.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this, because Kapali, your instrument, I was about to call it pedal steel, but really it's to talk about the origins of this instrument that is so, in people's minds, quintessential country. It's Hawaiian.
Yes, the lap steel, I don't have the specific year. I think it was like 1876, where Joseph Kekuku fashioned a bar and even metal picks to play on an acoustic guitar, where he raised the strings up.
Almost like a dobro, we would.
And that comes in after. It's like, so he, a lot of what people don't realize is, so you either worked in plantations or you were a musician and you got to get out of the island. So then when you got to the continental U.S. at the time, you were touring. And what people forget is that Hawaiians were touring with Native Americans, Black, Chinese, and vaqueros and Mexican entertainers. It was not the same time, hence why you have Jimmy Rogers yodeling Hawaiian steel lines, on some of those tours and recordings. But he did have 4 native Hawaiian steel players on the Bristol sessions.
Well, how about
and
that?
And so it kind of brings you back, but like 1876, steel Hawaiians touring, latter 1800s into the early 1900s, some of the first guitar heroes to play steel strings were Hawaiian, because in the Americas they were still really doing that gut string. And then afterwards, the Dobro brothers heard that Hawaiian style of playing, hence the dobro coming out, but it was amplifying Hawaiian steel. And so a lot of those old Hawaiians got the instruments from the Portuguese coming in. And so when they were touring the South, our cousins were hearing some of those open strings, and that's how we all, it's a beautiful thing to realize what are the two elements that make a country song today, but the black banjo and the Hawaiian steel.
Right. Well, you're teeing up Trey Wellington over here to give us a quick lesson on the banjo. For those who didn't hear the sort of Reclaiming the Banjo special that we aired on this program, remind us the origins of the banjo.
Yeah, so the banjo originally is an African instrument that is derived off several instruments in Africa. The most popular is the kora, I would say. That's the most common, and it was brought over here, of course, by enslaved Africans in the 1700s, and kind of was one of those things that got taken by white plantation owners and kind of made into, what we think of as minstrel shows now. And it's a big reason, I was reading this book not too long ago. I forget the exact name, or maybe it was an article, but it was saying kind of the, when you look at when kind of like in the mid 1900s, like when you started seeing less and less black folks playing roots music, it was because of these minstrel shows were going on, and it was taking people away from it. And so I think now we're in like a beautiful spot where, with folks like Lizzie making this Outlaws Almanac and bringing so many people together, we're in this really, really cool spot where, black roots musicians are able to reclaim these things that, started with a beautiful history, had this dark section of history, and now is getting back to a beautiful part of history.
Well, thank you for sharing it. Getting some shout-outs on YouTube, though, for our first guests, the Cowgays. Spree Star writes, just when I thought y'all couldn't get any more queer, I think it's a compliment, you go trot out the Cowgays. Wow, happy Pride. This is Nashville and WPLN for making me feel so included. Y'all rock. Listen, you want to shout out our guests for the Outlaws? We'd love to hear it. You can watch the video stream at youtube.com/@WPLN. Julie, I'm curious if... we're seeing much of this effort kind of have some sort of corresponding patriotic messages that are coming out in mainstream country music. I mean, are we also seeing mainstream kind of do something for the 250th this year?
Well, I mean, if you think back to the alternative Super Bowl halftime show, I mean, that was an example from earlier this year that was kind of, I mean, that most of the artists that were on that bill are from the world of mainstream country. And I mean, that itself was positioned as the alternative to Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show, because there was this kind of widespread misconception. I don't think people really understood Puerto Rico's relationship to the United States, and that was in fact an American halftime show that Bad Bunny put on in Spanish, you know, and so that was one thing that, you know, stuck in my mind early in the year. But I also was thinking more recently about, I mean, there was a song that I think Brantley Gilbert did on that show, you know, and there are songs that there's a song that Morgan Wallen had been performing on his stadium tour, and a song that's newish by Lee Brice. Those were just some examples that had patriotic sentiments, but kind of a posture of, you know, this is ours to own. It was more of an us versus them kind of mentality. This is ours to own, differentiating between, you know, those who don't get to claim it. Yeah. And I mean, those are just a few examples. Like, country music is not a monolith. Folk music is not a monolith. Roots music is not a monolith, which I think we are embodying that and illustrating that here today. So there is a wide range of different forms of expression, different ideas about Americanness, different ideas about patriotism, and I think that's a great thing. I like to be able to take in the broad range of it, you know. But yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of responses, all kinds of presentations of you know, or definitions of American identity that I've witnessed this year. But I think some of the really exciting expression, the really exciting artistry, you know, is what we're witnessing here today.
Yeah. Well, Lizzie No, as a producer on Outlaws Almanac, do you need some commercial success for this project for it to get noticed and appreciated in a way that would, you know, have the impact you're looking for?
That is such a good question. As a Black artist in roots music, I have come to depend on the affirmation of my community, fellow artists, diehard folk music fans, more than affirmation from the mainstream. Because as a Black artist, you learn that recognition from the mainstream is fleeting if you ever get it, and it can very quickly be taken away when the mood of the country changes away from diversity and back towards quote unquote traditional values. And we're living in one of those moments right now where, after Trump got elected the second time, most of the Black women I knew in Nashville who had record deals or agency deals got dropped, right? You can be dropped as quickly as you're picked up. So we depend on each other to decide what's important and what's a part of the canon. And the good news about being funded through a nonprofit is that this project is paid for, and now we get to give it to the world. My hope is that people will hear it on public radio stations, playlists, through word of mouth, and that it'll have a broad reach that way, through passionate listeners instead of through the big Music City machine.
Yeah. Well, on that Music City machine, before we have to let you all go, like, Kapali, you've chosen to live here. Y'all have chosen to live here. Like, why Nashville, this place that is known for the music machine?
Well, I think I know the reason why I really moved to Nashville was I think it's funny how Jerry Byrd, was the steel player for Hank Sr. before Don Helms, and Jerry kind of left at the height of it. He recorded for everybody, but he left and moved to Hawaii, in between the 50s or 60s, something, don't quote my dates, but and he taught Hawaiian kids steel, so it's like Jerry knew that the motherland for him was there. And for me, it's like, we have Melvin Lead, and we have some other mixed Samoan and other more mainstream country artists coming out of Hawaii that are playing such places like the Opry. But the Opry and the Bluebird were always my dream growing up. I saw the Bluebird special, and it's the Bluebird that really got me to move out here. And ever since I was little, I think like 9, watching the special, back home 4,000 miles away. Wow. So it was always Nashville for me. But realizing as I go into the Country Music Hall of Fame and you see that big painting for the creation of country music, there is no Hawaiian person with a steel guitar on that, or a dobro or anything.
Well, there's a space for you, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Trey, what about for you?
Yeah, I think for me, my ultimate reason in moving to Nashville was, so often you do look at, the majority of people look at Nashville as this like big, country music machine that's like all mainstream country. But then you go into these little pockets, and there's so many amazing pockets of Nashville music, that are not talked about and not represented in like a mainstream light. And I think I knew about those pockets before I moved here. And that was a big reason, because just like to get more inspiration and to work with new people and to be in a place where, there are tons of musicians who are very inventive and very creative that I can, draw inspiration from and work with and, hopefully trade ideas with.
Well, it's making us all better hearing these stories, too. Thanks to banjo innovator Trey Wellington, American country blues artist and songwriter Kapali Long, producer, guitarist, harpist Lizzie No, along with WPLN's Julie Hight here. Really enjoyed having you all.
Thank you, Blake.
Outlaws Almanac comes out June 19th, though you can already find some songs online if you look hard enough. Thanks for helping us consider an alternative soundtrack to America at 250. And thank you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. We're focusing on the 250th anniversary on Wednesdays this month. Last week, we dropped in on Middle Tennessee in 1776. Heard a lot of stories. The one that I'm still talking to people about is Lee Williams and the namesake of Nickajack Lake. Listen at thisisnashville.org. Today's episode produced by Mary Mancini and Julie Hight, directed by Tasha A.F. Limley, Liv Lombardi, making us sound and look good. The masterminds behind our theme music are LaRange and Namir Blade. What's your alternative soundtrack for America at 250? You don't have to sing it on our voicemail, but tell us about it at 615-760-2000. You can also find us on Instagram at thisisnashville_WPLN. I'm Blake Farmer. Go in peace.